Kapwa program ng ating simbahan ay laging handang tumulong at tumugon. Kamakailan lamang po, tayo ay naglaan ng 5 million pesos para sa kindness stations or community pantries ng mga social action centers ng 50 dioceses sa Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao. Ito po ay galing sa inyong mga donations na pakunti-kunting ibinigay sa pamamagitan ng ating panawagan dito sa ABS-CBN. Kapwa ko, pananagutan ko. Sa pamamagitan ng ating Alay Kapwa Program, sa panahon ng kalamidad gaya ng bagyo, lindol, at iba pang paghihirap sa buhay ng ating mga kapatid, ang Alay Kapwa Program ng ating simbahan ay laging handang tumulong at tumugon. Kamakailan lamang po, tayo ay naglaan ng 5 million pesos para sa kindness stations or community pantries ng mga social action centers ng 50 dioceses sa Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao. Ito po ay galing sa inyong mga donations na pakunti-kunting ibinigay sa pamamagitan ng ating panawagan dito sa ABS-CBN. Kapwa ko, pananagutan ko. Sa pamamagitan ng ating Alay Kapwa Program,
because we know how much you wanted to get the right information, we give it to you right here. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates, accessible through your YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter accounts. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Caritas News on the go.
Good morning. This is Caritas News on the Go. I'm Jean Ray Henderson. Last week, we had a very interesting dialogue with the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples, and the Department of Agrarian Reform. The dialogue was aimed at surfacing urgent issues and concerns, especially of the Balaan tribe affected by the proposed mining operation in Tampakan, South Cotabato. There would be another round of dialogue Caritas Philippines requested on behalf of our diocesan social action centers with the Department of Agrarian Reform. Here with us this morning is the Director of the Social Action Center in Haro, Iloilo, Monsignor Militon Oso. Good morning, Mons, and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Your sound, I cannot hear you clearly, please.
Kuya Sai?
Medyo mahina ka pa rin.
Okay. Kumusta na po ngayon, Mons?
Better.
Better. Okay. Mons, before we move with the next dialogue with Department of Agrarian Reform, kumustahin muna namin po yung CARP implementation dyan sa Iloilo.
Okay. Pinapakinggan tayo ng marami. Hayaan ko na ang nakikinig ang magbigay ng judgment tungkol sa sasabihin ko at sa implementasyon ng DAR, particularly dito po sa Archdiocese of Haro. From our side, na-discover namin that there are 24,000 uninstalled farmers. Mga may-ari na ito ng lupa, may mga klowa na sila, at hindi pa nila naangkin yung kanilang lupa. So hindi sila nagpuposes productively ng lupa. Kaya pumasok ang social action ng Archdiocese ng Haro because we believe this is great injustice. Second, maraming CLOA na tinatawag DNYD. DNYD is an acronym that stands for Distributed, Not Yet Documented. Ibig sabihin, wala ni kapirasong dokumento yan. Basta lang nag-release ng CLOA na walang document. Mabuti lang, ito ay mga pag-aari ng government banks. Pero hanggang ngayon, mahihirapan pa rin tayo na mag-document. Also, maraming tenants sa mga non-agrarian reformed land. I'm sorry to say this, hindi natutulungan ng DAR mismo when leased out of the land. Particularly last week lang, may kaso kami sa Dumangas, sa awa ni Santa Claus, itong housing, gagawa ng housing daw para sa Yolanda survivors. Yolanda happened in 2014, I'm right? O 13? 2013. Now this is 2021. Ngayon lang sila magpapatayo ng bahay. At saka nagiging biktima ang mga tenants dahil binili yung mga lupa at hindi man lang binigyan pansin yung karapatan ng mga tenants. Kaya dinala ng mga tenants sa provincial government. Inimbita ako ng provincial government, kaya lang meron akong previous appointment, pinadala ko lang ang isang staff ko. At sinabihan sila, pag walang nangyari, you come to the office and we will continue with the struggle. Ganon din ang suporta sa mga CLOA holders is almost non-existence. Siguro sasabihin ng mga taga-DAR, sinungaling ako, I tried reaching out to DAR, but the documentation is voluminous. Hindi kaya ng ordinaryong farmer. Sinasabi ko nga sa kanila, pwede ba? Bawas-bawasan naman ninyo yan. Hindi nyo naman tinitingnan yan. Ina-archives nyo lang naman eh. It would seem to me that they are making it difficult for ordinary farmers to avail of government help. Meanwhile, yung mga mayayaman, yun. Then we have legal battles. As we speak, my lawyer is here in my conference room, nandun sa kabilang building, kasi yung isang grupo ng ARBs natin, yun, niraratrat sila ng maraming legal cases. Kaya yung lawyer natin, naghahanda ngayon ng kanilang pang-defensa. So we are having a conference with them. So legal battles may come from the previous landowners. They can do that kasi they have money, they have influence, and minsan from the encargados, and minsan from fellow farmers. Ganon din, ang mga agrarian reform beneficiaries are uninformed about their ownership. Some do not know for the last 28 years na may-ari na sila ng lupa. They came to know about it nang pumasok na ang mga community organizers ng social action. Also, their officials collude with previous landowners, sorry for using this word, to cheat the poor farmers. I have a document on a particular case. Dokumentado ko yan. Naghihintay lang ako kung dadalhin ko sila sa ombudsman o for as long as they promise to continue installing my farmers, I told them, I will not bring you to the office of the ombudsman. Do your work. And also, I am hearing reports that the farmers who received the CLOA are now selling their lands with the help of people themselves from the Department of Agrarian Reform. Now, sa mga nakikinig, with the judge, tingnan ninyo, kung maganda ang ginagawa ng Department of Agrarian Reform. Kaya nga sabi nila, departamento ng amo na ritubado. Dar needed ritubado. Dar means like, that is the meaning of dar. Departamento sang amo nga ritubado. Or the other thing, departamento ng sang agsador nga reklamador. But mostly, amo na ritubado. Yes, Jing?
Opo, Mons, we tried for several times already to dialogue with DAR, and now we have this opportunity again. What do you like DAR to do this time differently and more concretely?
Siguro una, i-fast track nila yung installation. Kasi tagal-tagal na eh. And sadly, most of these CLOAs are still collective. In fact, they violated the law. Kasi yung, nahirapan ako magtagalog kasi, the law is quite clear. It is upon the request of the group that collective CLOAs should be given. Pero pag hindi sila humihingi, dapat individual CLOA yan. Dito nangyari na reverse. Lahat collective CLOA at saka ngayon humihingi pa kami ng parcelization. Halos lahat ng tinutulungan namin sa awa ni Santa Claus, collective CLOA. They are appropriating, I think, 20 billion for parcelization na kung ginawa sana ito noon pa, hindi na nagiging problema ngayon. At sa parcelization, ako ang bagal-bagal rin, hindi pa nga na-install, hindi pa na-parcelize. I think the Department of Agrarian Reform should use the WIP. No? Let your people work, especially from the ground. I would strongly suggest that DAR would come and visit, make a thorough investigation of what is happening in the ground. If they have nowhere to go, they can come to Iloilo. I will help them out. In fact, this is the third time that we visited the Secretary himself. From Capaing, then now to Castriciones, we went to his office, bringing all this to his attention. Sumasagot rin naman, pero yun, parang pagong. No? The people in the ground, I'm sorry, parang tamad. Ayaw kumilos, takot palagi na baka isuplong daw ng mga previous landowners. Bigyan nyo kami ng mga personnel who loves the poor, who loves the farmer, and are really serious with implementing the program.
And while we are waiting for the actions from the Department of Agrarian Reform, Mons, sa inyong parte sa JASAC, ano na po yung mga interventions na ginagawa ninyo for our agrarian reform beneficiaries?
Firstly, we are into community organizing. Kailangan ito kasi watak-watak yung mga tao, sila mismo nag-aaway-away. So pumapasok kami for community organizing. Then register them with DOLI until they realize that there is strength in being one. Then we facilitate education, especially on run lights. Isa nga sa education namin is warrantless arrest. At nagawa na ito ng mga farmers namin. Kasi sa totoo lang, takot ang mga pulis na mag-facilitate ng warrantless arrest. Kaya yung mga farmers namin mismo ang gumagawa ng warrantless arrest. Of course, they are being helped. We are being helped by the Human Rights, the Department of Justice, and our own lawyer too. Then, the crop insurance. Dapat na mapababa talaga sa kanila na libre itong crop insurance. At saka may life insurance kung magbigay lang sila ng 50 pesos on a yearly basis. Ginagawa namin ngayon, pinapast-track yung installation. That is why, kasi itong pandemic nagiging kadahilanan kung bakit hindi nila ma-install. At saka yung office nila dito, hindi maganda. Kaya I will invite them next week, dito na sa opisina ko mag-meeting. Sa office nila ngayon, walang space. Hindi kasyado maka-interact sa kanila. para ma-fast track kasi itong ginagawa namin, pina-fast track namin yung installation. Also, we are looking into the life of the farmer himself. That is why recently, meron kaming crop insurance a social benefits forum. We endeavor na mabigyan sila ng pananaw na dapat pag matanda na sila, kahit paano, may kaunting retirement benefits din sila. Kaya ini-encourage namin yung social security system na kahit na self-employed, something like that. Not necessarily as an employed person, kung hindi self-employed, para makapasok sila at magkaroon kahit paano ng social benefits. Because I was shocked one time, my farmer is 75 years old. And I told him, I am preparing for my retirement. How about you? At ang sagot sa akin, walang retirement sa akin, Father. Otherwise, wala akong kakainin. He never heard about this SS. Kaya ito ang ginagawa namin ngayon. At sa ngayon, last meeting namin, kasi na-federate ko na, ang 20 Farmers Organization, sumusulat na kami ngayon sa Department of Agrarian Reform na dapat i-parcelize very fastly ang aming mga lupa. Very quickly.
Okay. So, with all this that we are doing at the moment, papaano pong makakaapekto sa ating land rights advocacies naman ang 2022 elections?
Yun ang sinasabi ko sa aking mga farmers. Looking forward to have 2,000 members. Because right now, I think a little more than 1,000 lang kami. Sabi ko, pag 2,000 tayo times 5, that is quite a number. And we can call the governor, come, listen to us. Then we can lobby, we can advocate para i-pressure sila na pakinggan at tingnan yung talagang totoong sitwasyon ng ating mga magsasaka. I was going to one parish yesterday to pick up the vegetables for our pantry. We have now the pantry. At nakita ko yung ganda pa ng daan, ina-asphalt overlay na. Meanwhile, doon sa rural areas, parang kawa sa kalaki yung butas ng daan, walang nangyayari. Hanggang ngayon, ganyan ang sitwasyon. Kaya mahal masyado, expensive ang farming sa Pilipinas. Hindi yan binibigyan pansin. So we should pressure, lobby with elected officials na bigyan naman ng nararapat na atensyon ang rural farmers, una yan, then farming itself. Bigyan sila ng good roads, water facilities, many of them are still electricity poor. Ibig sabihin, walang electricity sa kanayunan. Then, yes, we need to go to mechanization. Dapat makita yan. At pwede kaya sabihin natin sa Department of Agriculture na huwag magpag-aapit sa mga politiko? We are now into mechanization, pero it would seem to me that it is always the groups organized by the politicians that are availing of the machines. Ordinary farmers are left out. Also, nilalabi ko sa mga local politicians namin, local people running for elective office, pwede kaya na mabigyan ng subsidized social security system benefit yung mga farmer. So that when they reach 65, at least, meron silang kaunting pension plan, pension na makukuha sa gobyerno. Yun ang tinitingnan ko talaga na pwedeng mangyari. At saka yung support sa mga farmers, financially and in terms of mechanization. And yes, ang mga farmers should gain that power so that they can call the attention of their elected leaders na bigyan naman ng atensyon ang kanilang real situation. When we are so organized, as I said, we can call them and they will run to us because we are a force to reckon.
Yes, correct. Maraming salamat, Monsignor Meleton Oso, sa iyong pagkakataon na makausap namin ngayon dito sa ating programa. And mabuhay po kayo at ang mga magsasaka natin nakasama dyan sa Iloilo.
Salamat. Let me end with this saying coming from Nelson Mandela. As long as poverty, injustice, and gross inequality persist in our world, none of us can truly rest. So there is no rest for this poor priest for as long as there is injustice. Thank you very much.
Maraming salamat po. Nakasama natin Monsignor Meliton Oso, ang direktor ng Haro Archdiocesan Social Action Center sa Iloilo. Caritas News on the Go will be right back after this short break.
Because we know how much you wanted to get the right information, we give it to you right here. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Accessible through your YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter accounts. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Caritas News on the go.
Good morning once again, and this is Caritas News on the Go. Last week we promised to bring you the man behind the free Wi-Fi for all project from Caritas Libmanan, Camarines Sur. With us this morning is Joe Carm, a youth volunteer for the Social Action Center in Libmanan. Good morning, Joe Carm, and welcome to the program. Please unmute yourself po, Joe Carm. Sayang ng boses. Okay.
Good morning po, Ate G. Good morning po, Nasa. Good morning po, viewers.
Okay, good morning sa lahat ng mga nasa Libmanan. Ano po? Joe Carm, yung project mo was born out of the resource mobilization short course that we offered at the Caritas Philippines Academy. Bakit ito yung naisip mo na proyekto? And so far, magkano na yung na-raise ninyo na pondo?
Okay po. So, yung project nga po is free Wi-Fi for study through fundraising. Kung saan po, yun po yung connection mo ambag ko. And yung objective po nito is first, to help the student, their schooling, to make ease to access the internet. Kasi po, yung lugar pong natulungan natin is from mountainous area. Kung saan po mataas po, mayroon po ang signal. At pangalawa po is to help also po the parents by to save po the allotted allowance for load. Kung saan po, mahal naman po talaga ang load. And to help the people in Cambalinjo for their convenience. So, ngayon po, ang nalikom po namin is 81,684 pesos. So, dito po, ngayon po, na-install na po siya. Andun na po siya sa lugar po. Ngunit po, may mga challenges po kami hinarap. Unang-una po, paano po maglikom, sino pong kakausapin. Pangalawa po, yung lugar po. Alam na po natin, ang Bicol po ay daanan po ng bagyo. So, nahirapan po kami i-install. So, ngayon lang po siya nasimulan kasi may mga ilang bagyo pong nagdaan. So, masayang po kung ilalagay po natin. Ay, masayang din. So, sunod po, ano po yung mga rason bakit po yun yung naisip namin connection mo ang bag ko, free Wi-Fi for study. Unang-una po, yung time po yan, ginawa po namin na time ng pandemic. Kung saan po ang hanap buhay po ng mga magulang ng estudyante ay mahirap at nasa bundok pa po nga sila. Sunod po, for student po, kasi po nag-aaral po that time. So mahirap po ma-access po ng internet. So, for convenience po, para sa kanila, yan po ang naisip natin. Bakit po? Kasi po, may na-witness po kami, nakausap po na doon po sa lugar na yun, yung mga estudyante po ay nagpupunta po kung saang lugar para maghanap lang po ng signal. Kalimitan nga po ay pumunta po sila beside roadside kasi po andun po yung signalan. Kung saan po, danger po yun sa kanila. Kaya po, naisip po namin na bakit kaya hindi tayo maglagay ng free Wi-Fi for study? So, hindi lang po ako ang nasa likod nito. unang-una po si Father Aldrin, yung pong kura para ko doon, at yung pong mga katulong ko po na mga estudyante po ng fundraising, ng klase ko po, yung pong mga fourth year theology students ng aming seminaryo. Sila po yung nagtulong-tulong upang po yung panaginip na yun maging totoo. At ito na nga po, naging totoo na.
Yes. Opo. Joker, gusto din naming malaman na paanong nakatulong din sa iyo yung fundraising short course ng Caritas Philippines Academy when you were deciding para doon sa fundraising project mo?
Ang sabi ko po doon sa lecture is simple, pero po may impact. So, nag-isip kami ng simple pero may impact. Oh, ito, yun, pandemic. Kailangan ng internet at sa estudyante. Yun po. Then, since nga po is malimit lang po yun. At noon po, wala pong alam tungkol po sa fundraising na ginagawa. But through CRID, yung pong course na yun, doon po nakakuha po ko ng mga basic na mga kaalaman kung paano pong fundraising. At yun po ay nakatulong sa amin upang po magtotoo itong aming panaginip.
Thank you so much doon sa magandang feedback na binigay mo for our Caritas Philippines Academy. Ngayon naman, on another matter lang, Jocarm, dahil isa kayo sa mga bumubuo ng napakalaking pie doon sa ating populasyon ngayon. And gagawin na ulit natin yung 2022 elections. Sa palagay mo ba bilang isang miyembro ng youth sector sa inyo dyan sa Libmanan, papaano kayo mas makatutulong para maging maganda yung resulta ng ating eleksyon?
To use po our basic, yung intellect, na since po we are young, we need to choose what is the best. We need to choose what is right for our country. Since the country or our place is in wood, we need to cry out. And the youth need to cry out.
Okay, maraming salamat sa iyo, Jocarm Ivan Bello, isa sa mga youth volunteers ng Caritas Libmanan. Caritas News on the Go will be right back with Lieutenant General Antonio Parlade Jr. Okay.
Because we know how much you wanted to get the right information, we give it to you right here. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Accessible through your YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter accounts. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Caritas News on the go.
This is again Caritas News on the Go. The peace and order situation in the country is steadily improving according to the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict. But other groups are saying the government is putting too much effort in reg-tagging personalities. Caritas Philippines and other commissions of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines very recently had a dialogue with NTF-ELCAC to find collaborative means to bring about true and lasting peace in the country. Joining with us today in the program is the head of NTF-ELCAC himself, Lieutenant General Antonio Parlade Jr. Good morning, General, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Jean. And by the way, I'm not the head. I'm the spokesperson of the National Task Force, ELCAC.
Thank you so much for the correction, General, but it seems that you're all over ELCAC. But for our viewers, especially for the Diocesan Social Action Centers, would you please give us like a brief background of the NTF-ELCAC and why was it organized? What is its main goals?
Yeah, essentially, the Executive Order 70 created this National Task Force, ELCAC. This was issued by the President last December 2019. And with that creation of the NTF, we were able to converge all these agencies of the government concerned with the development of the countryside, solving these issues, social and economic issues in the countryside. And so we have now, I think, almost all government agencies, 27 agencies of them, to comprise the 12 different clusters of the NTF-ELCAC. So there's a cluster for strategic communications, which I'm part of. There's a cluster for local peace engagement. There's a cluster for Balik Loob, ICLIP. There's a cluster for local government empowerment. And essentially, all programs of this NTF-ELCAC addresses specific issues, including the reunification of the indigenous peoples, these sectoral groups like women's sector, youth sector. So yeah, it's a whole of nation approach. It's not only the government who's involved here, and that is why the presence of the clergy, the bishops, their contribution to this effort is really welcome. And essentially, it's anchored on good governance. So yeah, it's not about fighting these armed components, the New People's Army, no. It's about providing basic services, farm-to-market roads, irrigation, livelihood, and electrification, whatever the communities need, especially those communities neglected by the government for so long. So these are essentially geographically, we call it GIDAs, or geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas.
It's good that you've mentioned about ELCAC being all for good governance, and because especially now that 2022 elections is very near, and we really need to have something more concrete than the usual things that we listen to and then we watch over the media. And by mentioning the media, you have been quoted time and again that with saying that red tagging and other dividing messages are the narratives of the media to create chilling effects on the people. Why do you say so po?
It's important. That is why this strategic communications was created, to address the propaganda machinery of the CPP-NPA. You know, this is one aspect of this insurgency that we have really neglected in the past. So the narrative of the left is what's dominating the international communities, the indigenous peoples, these marginalized sectors. They don't hear anything from the government. But now, you spoke about red tagging. Let me just explain that red tagging is not really what the government is doing, but it's a defense mechanism. It's an invention of the Communist Party in order for them to shield the activities of the underground organizations using these legal front organizations. The main difference of communism in other parts of the world is that in Europe, in the US, in Australia, their Communist Party doesn't have an armed component.
Yes.
But in the Philippines, Joma Sison has a New People's Army to master, just in case he needed to harass people, the communities, government officials, and for him to be able to cover the activities of these illegal underground organizations. He has to invent this red tagging in order to shield what we call the open mass organizations that he has created, shield the organizations working underground. As I was explaining to the bishops a while ago, it's very important that we really see the specific divide of these organizations working at the legal, and then on the local term we call it malalegal, and then there's the illegal. So you see, it's a very complicated concept, but essentially this is what they do using these revolutionary dual tactics. So they infiltrate organizations to destroy it. They try to infiltrate the church to destroy it. They infiltrate our judicial system in order to destroy it. So yeah, we have to make sure that we understand how these dynamics work. This exploitation of these different sectors, including the government, by the way. So even the government, they have managed to organize party cells in order to destroy the mechanisms of the government.
General, what happened with the community pantries is something that made all the more the issue on red tagging more controversial, especially that now it reaches the realms of the Senate, and then they are now looking into your budget. So how do you think is this playing, especially in terms of really like providing honest to goodness services to the people, and then now we are seeing also offices of the Philippine National Police and the Armed Forces opening up their own community pantries. So what are you trying to say to the people?
Yeah, when these community pantries started to sprout, we were telling our group, the National Task Force ELCAC, especially Stratcom, to be careful about the way we address these community pantries, because it's really a reflection of our Bayanihan culture. You know, people trying to help those who are impoverished, the hungry. But we should be careful also in trying to, in watching who these organizers are, because the netizens are giving us feedback already. Sir, please take a look at this community pantry in our community. Why is it that we see a lot of these slogans, stop killing farmers, or these political slogans, and some agitating the people? So I said, while we support these community pantries, and in fact, we've been doing these community pantries even before COVID, and last year, we are the soldiers in our camp. We are contributing 1 day to 2 days of our subsistence allowance for this assistance to the poor communities around our camp. So we've been doing that. Now, the problem is when other organizations exploit this the good heart and the goodness of our people, you know, asking for donations from them, but not really. Not sure really where these donations are going. And remember, we had this in the past. We had this experience where Filipino communities from the U.S., Australia, elsewhere, gave so much for instance, the Typhoon Yolanda victims. And later on, we found out that many of these donations actually went underground. So they were actually trying to help the armed revolution. So that's not fair. So I said, we have to we have to be watchful about these organizers of these community pantries. It's a good program, and in fact, we are supporting them. We've been giving, you know, rice, other goods, vegetable to these community pantries existing in my area of responsibility. But just the same, we have to warn our policemen, our soldiers, to be careful in addressing this, because really, because of this pandemic, everyone is a lot of people are really out of job and hungry, and they needed some help.
So what you're doing is actually really only profiling and not red tagging.
No, I mean not even profiling.
Okay.
Because you have to be very careful with those words. You know, we are just checking whether there's a different agenda for some of these groups. Some, I think there are already more than 400 of them, but only a few are really being used by other organizations. I don't want to use the word profiling because, like I said, the terms we use, we want to just check on the activities of some of these groups. Profiling is a different thing, but it's the media who uses these words. You know why? Because they want to sensationalize everything that the government does.
But it doesn't mean that they are also against the government?
It doesn't matter. If actually,
or they just wanted to. Are you saying po that they just wanted to have something that people would be talking about?
You mean the media?
Yes, po.
They slant our statements. They use other words to project that chilling effect. You see, they want the people to be afraid of their government. No, it should not be the case. The government's job is to protect our citizens, make sure they are safe from these organizations trying to exploit them, and that's what we are doing. So it should not be taken against us if, like, we do our job checking on, like you do when you have leaks in your, in your faucet or in your water system. You're your meter
You just
is,
have to check it.
Yeah, of course.
But it seems that it's really challenging, especially for your strategic communications group now.
Because we realized there were some groups who made this. There were some groups who intended to set this trap, so that the government will react and see this is their response, and then there's this red tagging accusations. So on hindsight, we realized that I think it was a carefully laid trap, and
You fell for it?
yeah, some, not all, but like we said, of course, the police, they were asking questions, and then, of course, the term profiling. But that's not the intention of the government. The intention is really to just make sure that the people out there are safe. And remember, there are protocols that we need to observe because of this pandemic. So some of them, even the communities, even reported, sir, why is this pantry entertaining this line as early as 5 o'clock in the morning? There's still coffee, right? Yeah. So we sent the police to please check, please do your job. Because are they observing the protocols, the social distancing, all that?
Yeah, correct. Going back to the dialogues that we had with you and then with several other offices of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, would you be able to share to our viewers now what are the highlights of the dialogue?
Yeah, it's a very interesting dialogue. In fact, we've been wanting to have this dialogue. But because of the pandemic, we were not able to push through with that plan earlier. But it's a platform for us to really exchange views. If there are issues that we need to address together. So we were able to thresh out some of the
gray areas.
Yes, some of the gray areas that controversial areas. And I'm really glad that the CBCP initiated this one. We hope that we'll be able to come up with that structure so that communication between the armed forces, with the NTF-ELCAC, and the CBCP would be more open, especially those involved in social action. So yes, the plan now is for us to ask the National Task Force to issue a memo to down the line, the regional task forces and the provincial task forces, to make sure that the social action centers will be part of the National Task Force. So yeah, that's one good
outcome of the dialogue.
Yes, another outcome of this dialogue is the creation of a forum, a regular forum. That's a very, very welcome move, having a forum between the military and the CBCP at least every quarter or maybe monthly. That's good.
Yeah. Okay. General, the country is like facing really so many tumultuous events, and then we wanted that these divisions, especially politically, would end somehow and then make us and have a unifying effect, like the community pantries and all the other things that we are doing for the country. What would be your message to everyone, to all the Filipinos especially, so that we would be looking at the issues and not the personalities, and then make sure that we prioritize the bigger issues, which is maybe the love for our country and not the divisions that's caused by our ideologies?
Yeah, I hope, especially now with this pandemic, I hope that we will be really working together to address these issues on hunger. People are really hungry because they're out of job for the last so many months. So yeah, I hope we can really just set aside ideologies and help each other in promoting some more this bayanihan spirit. In fact, as we talk, we have so many community pantries all over Southern Tagalog, all over Mindoro and the Bicol region. We have set this up as early as last week. And we have asked our friends from civil society organizations to help us support these community pantries. And this is what we're doing. And yeah, you're right. Politics should not be, this is not the time for politics. This is not the time for ideologies. We just need to come together to end this problem, especially with this pandemic.
A special shout out to the Huban Police Station in Huban, Sorsogon. They have been operating their own kindness station, which is an equivalent of the community pantry, since last year. So magandang marhay na aga po sa Indugabos diyan. Lieutenant General Antonio Parlada Jr., thank you very much for being with us in the program.
Thank you very much, Jing.
The Caritas News on the Go will be right back after a few reminders.
Because we know how much you wanted to get the right information, we give it to you right here. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Accessible through your YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter accounts. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Caritas News on the go.
Ever wondered how you can be part of a global movement to help the most unfortunate Filipino communities? Caritas Philippines invites you to take part in doing Alay Kapwa sa Caritas in 9 different ways. These revitalized Alay Kapwa Stewardship Program will let you support the 9 priority interventions of the Catholic Church starting this year through Caritas Philippines. Be part of our global network of compassion. Show your love, kindness, and generosity by supporting the following stewardship programs. Alay para sa Kabataan. For only 137 pesos a day, send a youth to school and end their family's cycle of poverty. Alay para sa Karunungan at Kasanayan. For 168 pesos a day, professionally train a social action worker from your diocese. Alay para sa Kabuhayan. For 50,000 pesos, share your blessings for a Kabuhayan package for a community of fishermen. Alay para sa Kalusugan. For 100,000 pesos, at least 1,500 farmers will be assured of food for their families. Alay para sa Kanlungan. For only 260 pesos per day, give a disaster-stricken family a permanent home. Alay para sa Kababaihan. For only 400 pesos a month, empower rural poor women with sustainable social enterprises. Alay para sa Kaligtasan sa Kalamidad at Sakuna. For 150 pesos per day, help a family prepare for disasters and calamities. Alay para sa Kalikasan. For 100 pesos, let trees grow, thrive, and create new forests. Alay para sa Katarungan at Kapayapaan. For 300 pesos a day, help us build post-harvest facilities for our agrarian reform beneficiaries and indigenous peoples' communities. By being part of our networks of compassion, for just 1 year, you will be enabling families to have better access to a better future. So what are you waiting for? Let us do Alay Kapwa sa Caritas.
Because we know how much you wanted to get the right information, we give it to you right here. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Accessible through your YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter accounts. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Caritas News on the go.
You're still watching Caritas News on the Go. Another Caritas Kindness Station which opened last week is in Cebu. Talking with us today is Caritas Cebu's Director, Father Alex Cola. Good morning, Father, and welcome to the program. Parang nawala si Father sa screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, ay nagbihis si Father. Anyway, Father Alex Cola, good morning. Kumusta po yung operation natin ng ating Caritas Kindness Stations? Hello, Father.
Yes, hello, Jing. Good morning.
Hi, good morning po, Father. Okay, yung tanong ko po sa inyo kanina, papaano kayo nagsimula ng operation ng Caritas Kindness Station sa Caritas Cebu?
Actually, Archbishop Palma, the Archbishop of Cebu, urged me to do something, concrete action in legacy of the 500-year celebration. And it was so timely that I had a chance to contact NASA, Caritas Philippines, to ask also for what activity I'm going to do or propose here in the Archdiocese of Cebu. And dahil dito sa mga community pantry na ito, hindi ko alam na yung NASA pala merong Caritas Kindness Stations. It was so timely talaga na nabuo yung idea namin na mas maganda na gumawa tayo ng Caritas Kindness Stations. And right now, we have, aside from the Office of Cebu Caritas, meron pa tayong 5 parishes na nagkaroon ng Caritas Kindness Stations. At saka ang ganda, iba talaga, no? Kasi parang nakikita ko kasi para itong nag-aalay kapwa rin tayo eh, no? We encourage everyone to donate, especially in the parish setting. We encourage our parishioners to donate for our poor parishioners, no? What we did is we just facilitate sharing and generosity of the community, no? Especially among our parishioners. And that's it.
Opo, so kitang-kita, Father, yung compassion, kindness, and generosity at the local setting.
Opo.
So paano to, Father, yung operation ninyo? Do you operate the whole day for 24/7 or lahat ba ng pupunta dyan sa inyo kinakailangang mabigyan or you have other methodology or strategies?
Actually, we have our strategy. Learning from our first day. Yung first day, very crucial talaga yun eh. Kasi sa sobrang daming tao, no? Isang barangay lang yung na-invite namin, 5 barangay nagsipuntahan. Kaya sobrang dami. So we learned from that experience, and because of that, we came up with certain with strategies, no, how to do it. So every day, from Monday to Friday, open yung Caritas Kindness Stations natin, but only for 2 hours, 3 o'clock to 5 p.m., 3 to 5 p.m. Then, ang ginagawa ho natin, kasi sayang naman na bigay lang tayo ng bigay, tapos walang values formation. So, we injected formation, no, sa ginagawa natin. So, 40 minutes. So, every day, meron tayong 60 individuals na binibigyan natin. So, from 3 o'clock to 3:40, 20 persons, no, papasok doon sa Caritas building for orientation and values formation. So, from 3:40 to 4:20, so another 20. So, from 4:20 to 5 o'clock, another 20. So, 60 persons lahat. Every week, meron tayong 30 individuals na tinutulungan natin. In a month, more or less, meron tayong 1,500 individuals or families na tinutulungan natin from different barangays. Ginawa natin is, binigyan natin sila ng coupon, yung ticket. So, hindi sila makapasok doon sa Caritas building, doon sa Caritas Kindness Station natin, kung wala silang ticket. Yung mga iba naman nagsipuntahan doon, binibigyan din sila natin ng ticket. Balik kayo sa sunod na araw. Ito yung schedule niyo. Ito yung date. Ito yung oras. Ganyan po.
So essentially, Father, hindi naman natin sila, we are not saying no to them. Binibigyan lang natin ng mas maayos na order yung ating operation ng Caritas Kindness Stations.
Exactly. Ganyan po.
Okay. Do you think, Father, na with the support of the community that you are seeing at the moment sa Caritas Cebu and dun sa 5 pa ninyong mga parishes, we will be sustaining the Kindness Station for more than, let's say, a month? Or pwede natin bang idiretso yung ituloy-tuloy yung operation ito?
Actually, ganyan yung yung idea natin. Na dahil sinimulan natin ito, dapat sustainable talaga. Kaya gumagawa tayo ng mga sustainable na mga plans, how to do it para ma-sustain. So, yung first day po, hanggang ngayon, ika-7th day na ito, nasa operation natin, every day, meron talaga tayong nalilikom, no? Na pondo, kasi mismo yung mga taong pumapasok doon, may impact talaga yung values formation kasi nagbibigay sila ng pera, ng mga iba din nagdadala ng kung ano yung nasa bahay nila. So first day meron tayong 400 plus na pondo na nakita doon sa natin sa 60 persons. Sa second day meron namang 500 plus. Tapos ngayon nakita natin medyo meron talaga kaya yung galing sa kanila mismo, so yun yung binibili naman natin ng pagkain para sa susunod na araw. Pero nakikita ko lalong-lalo na sa mga parishes kasi sa kanila once a week lang. So Sunday lang sila nag-ooperate sa kindness station. So sabi ng mga paris sa akin na marami talagang mga parokyano ang nagbibigay ng donation. Kaya there is a big possibility that this activity will continue not only for a month but hoping it to continue for years.
Because that's also the national plan to really institutionalize the Caritas Kindness Stations into our pastoral programs para all year round nandoon and we can really provide assistance, especially food relief to our mga kababayan na talagang nangangailangan.
Actually, we are doing relief assistance to our parishioners and to different areas infected by this COVID-19 here in Cebu. But ang maganda naman itong Caritas Kindness Station, this is not just a dole-out thing, no? Kasi meron silang binibigay in return, no? Yun yung magandang concept doon na nakita natin na meron siyang sustainability.
Maraming salamat, Father Alex. Meron ka po bang mensahe para sa inyong mga kasamahan, mga kababayan dyan sa Cebu?
Actually, we encourage everyone to do our own deeds of kindness in our communities and parishes by establishing Caritas Kindness Station, no? Dahil totoo talaga yon, walang sinuman ang nabubuhay para sa sarili lamang. Walang sinuman ang namamatay para sa sarili lamang. Tayong lahat ay may pananagutan sa isa't isa. No? Sa mga benefactors and sponsors po namin, maraming salamat ho. May God bless you and your family abundantly.
Maraming salamat po sa iyo, Father Alex Cola, ang direktor ng Caritas Cebu. On
maraming
May 9,
salamat, Jing.
2022, exactly a year before 2022 elections, the Catholic churches in the country will be simultaneously ringing its church bells at 12 noon after the prayer of the Angelus as a symbolic call to action for voters' registration. With the Regi to Vote campaign, the Catholic Church through Caritas Philippines is urging all who are not yet registered or who were inactive voters to register to the Commission on Elections until September 30, 2021. Father Antonio Labiao Jr., Caritas Philippines Executive Secretary, is calling for everyone to exercise our sacred duty to our country.
I am Father Tony Labiao, present Executive Secretary of Caritas Philippines. You know, this is our sacred duty as Filipinos, as Christians. No? Kaya importante para sa simbahan, if we are serious with our mandate, not only as Christians but as citizens. You know, we need to actively participate. No? This is a call also for us, no, to get involved in good governance, and good governance can be exercised through voting. No? And this is very sacred for us. So I really encourage that the church people should take the lead in these electoral engagements. There is no meaning, in what we say. We love our country, but we are not even concerned about voting. Caritas Philippines is now ready to vote.
Remember Sunday 12 noon, ringing of church bells after the Angelus. We are hoping that all of you will be joining the call. I am Jean Ray Henderson, and this is Caritas News on the Go.
Because we know how much you wanted to get the right information, we give it to you right here. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Accessible through your YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter accounts. NASA Caritas Philippines News Updates. Caritas News on the Go.
Sa pamamagitan ng ating Alay Kapwa program, sa panahon ng kalamidad gaya ng bagyo, lindol, at iba pang paghihirap sa buhay ng ating mga kapatid, ang Alay Kapwa program ng ating simbahan ay laging handang tumulong at tumugon. Kamakailan lamang po, tayo ay naglaan ng 5 million pesos para sa kindness stations or community pantries ng mga social action centers ng 50 dioceses sa Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao. Ito po ay galing sa inyong mga donations na pakunti-kunting ibinigay sa pamamagitan ng ating panawagan dito sa ABS-CBN. Kapwa ko, pananagutan ko. Sa pamamagitan ng ating Alay Kapwa program, sa panahon ng kalamidad gaya ng bagyo, lindol, at iba pang paghihirap sa buhay ng ating mga kapatid, ang Alay Kapwa program ng ating simbahan ay laging handang tumulong at tumugon. Kamakailan lamang po, tayo ay naglaan ng 5 million pesos para sa kindness stations or community pantries ng mga